The main guy from the Food Network came after watching me film 2 episodes, and he came to me and says, I want to talk to you. I said, what's the matter? He says, Willie, you're shooting an Uzi. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're so fast. You're so used to working for yourself and producing and maximizing and making decisions to go. TV, we can't keep up with you. The camera people can't. The viewers are not going to keep up with you because you went from one line that was fucking hilarious in this, and you already went to the other one. We can't edit it.
Willie, thank you for coming on to Staying Hungry. We appreciate you coming, and I think we're going to have some fun this afternoon. You have such an interesting story. Why don't you give us some backdrop on how you got to where you are today? Like, where does that hunger come from inside? Because as a child, I know some of your story, but give some of the listeners.
Well, I think it comes from your childhood, right? Your genetics. I've always looked at that. Even when I interview someone now, I'm always asking, who's your mom? What's your dad? Tell me who they are. What you get from
You want to learn the story.
I want to know what you got from your parents. Yeah. Most kids today don't even know. I'm like, what does your mother do good? What's your father do good, right? So at a young age, I had ambition. I had to work hard. My father worked 2 jobs. He was a longshoreman. He worked in the post office. My mother worked. She worked for a legal secretary. My brothers, we went to Catholic school. We had newspaper routes. We shoveled snow. Whoever we did the newspapers for, we shoveled their snow. If you came in on a route, we beat you up. Basically, you couldn't take our customers.
Right.
That's how it was.
You were always hustling.
Always, because my mother wanted us to go to Catholic school. Okay. So back then, the Catholic school was like $1,500 a kid, right? We lived in a tight house, attached house in Queens, 60th Boulevard. Baby of 4 boys. Went to St. Anne's. Walked every day to school. Biked home for lunch when I could later. So, my 3 brothers beat me up every day. And I beat them up mentally. They beat me up physically. I would beat them up with my wit. And I would tear them up with their insecurities. So I learned to read people well that way.
Street smart.
Right? Yeah.
Fair to say.
Yeah. And my father would get a kick out of it, and he would antagonize us. And my mother would be like, what are you doing? And he's like, they beat him up. He wrecks them mentally. He's smart. He's good at it. It makes me laugh. And my mother said, you're creating a monster. So then, and I believe, not having much, watching my father leave the house 5:30 in the morning, come home 12 o'clock at night. I yearned for his attention. I wanted him around. I saw how hard he worked, so I learned discipline. I learned you want something. My mother was tough Irish from Hell's Kitchen. My Uncle Jack was the hiring boss of the Longshoremen Union, so they were Irish mob running things, and they were powerful people, and it was about work hard. Don't take anything from anyone for free. It was very territorial. People say racist, but they were opinionated people. The whole block was. We grew up with a lot of people like that, hardworking. I called it the white ghetto, lower middle class. They call it upper middle class, but to me, everyone was struggling. Everyone couldn't take a vacation. Everyone couldn't buy a new car. Everyone was about the kids. There was 50, 60 kids on the block. And, we had physical fights. We played sports every day. We invented stuff. We got hit by cars in traffic. So it was, we played Nerf football. You get hit, you get up.
Right.
Car was doing 20 miles an hour.
Time, go home.
You went flying, you got up. Suck it up. Don't cry. That's how we grew up.
Did you know then that life was as tough as it was, or did it make you realize it as you got older?
Yeah, you don't know. What do you know? You know the little bubble in the little box you grew up in, right? And every summer we would go to Pennsylvania, that my grandmother on my father's side, he had an old house on 5 acres in a place, it's not far, it's called Welcome Lake, not far from Woodlock Pines, if you ever heard of it. Mm-hmm. We would pass Woodlock when it was nothing. Yeah. And we were in a jalopy old Ford Falcon with a German Shepherd in the car, could hardly make it up the hills, and we're like, come on, old Betsy. No bullshit. So we got away every summer to go up there, and that was my father's mother, my grandmother's family house. German family, 10 brothers, sisters. They built this little house. A lot of my uncles were in the war. My father was in the Korean War. My grandfather, World War II. So that was their getaway. And then we kept going up a lot. And me and my brothers would basically do all the landscaping. My father would come up and save his vacation time and weekends to come up the last of the summer. But my grandmother and my mother, we would go up. Then we had a station wagon with the bikes. You know, it's just like the movies. And we had to work that property. And when you went up there, the grass was 3 feet high. You had to paint the house. It was falling apart. And every time we left at the end of the summer, it looked nice. And we drove away and we would come back to, it was horrible.
Exactly the same.
But it taught us work ethic, right? And it taught us to get things, take ugly, make it nice. And I always enjoyed it. And then my parents said, okay, the other people would never come up to the house. My mother and my father and my grandmother said, we're going to buy everyone out. And that they bought everyone out, and then it became ours. You know, my brother Jimmy, I was just on the phone with him. He lives there now, right? He's the caretaker of the house. He loves it up there. He got out of New York. He couldn't take it no more, the stress. He loves the country life, you know? And all of that is embedded in us. Like when spring comes, I'm like, I get a lot of anxiousness. I get a lot of anxiety. I want to go. I want it looking beautiful. I want my plants, my landscaping. It's crazy. It's so embedded in me. And I build these homes and I know every plant and everyone's like, who did the landscaping design? I'm selling homes worth 10, 15 million. Who did the landscaping? Me.
Here on Long Island, right?
Yeah, in the Hamptons.
Out east.
And people are like, you? What do you mean? You're the steak guy. I'm like, yeah, I'm the plant guy too. How do you know all the plants? Because I've done it. I want to do it. I enjoy it. You know, I like digging a hole. I like laying it out. So to me, I was a very project-driven kid from the beginning. When my family bought Lincoln logs, I took my brother's sets and I made my own Ponderosa. And my father would be like, that's not on a can. I'm like, it doesn't have to be on a can.
You had your own vision.
I mean, I just took it and built it, you know? So that was who I was, always, out of all my brothers.
How did the food come into the mix, or when did that start?
Well, what happened was my mother was Irish. She wasn't a great cook. You know, she made her meals. We always had meat and potatoes. My father would do a lot of the shopping. So when I was 10, my father got cancer.
Sorry.
That's okay. And he almost died back then. But he retired from one job and then he would go shopping and I was the youngest, so I'd go with him. And he'd take me to a butcher, he'd take me to this place, and he took me to different places all the time. And my father was a man's man. He has a personality, walk in the door, 6'2", big man Cliff. And he knew how to handle people, and he taught me how to tip and how to treat the lower working class, everybody. Take care of them. Money goes a long way, right? They'll always remember you. They'll take care of you. And he'd be like, look, you know, Frankie gave me 2 extra veal cutlets. The butcher, Frankie, he'd be Cliff. And he would walk in and his orders be ready, you know? And I watched how people treated my dad. And that's the same way I treat people, you know. The dishwasher's as important as the chef to me always, you know. Sure. I pull up to a valet restaurant, I'm giving them $50, and people go, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm in the restaurant business. That valet matters. He's the first face you meet when you pull up to a restaurant, you know. So my father taught me a lot of that, and then my father liked cooking. So then he would cook. And he was all about his mise en place and very organized. He was an only child, my father. So my grandmother cooked and she had OCD. She was very clean and organized. I love when grandma came to live with us because my socks and underwear, all my drawers got nice because my mom didn't have the time. 4 boys. It was tough. Yeah. We broke every set of furniture, wrestling, jumping off the stairs, you know. No one wanted to babysit us because we tortured you. So it was, you know, it was great. It was fantastic.
Your family's still close?
You know, brothers have egos. You know, we never had a sister. I always wanted a sister. I mean, we talk, we try. One brother, we have fallen outs, but, you know, we make up, we talk. Of course, you know, my oldest brother, he's a dentist, very successful, does implants. My other 2 brothers, they're twins. They're not identical. I try to talk with them all the time. And, you know, you go through things with brothers. Guys get jealous. Guys have issues. But, you know, it is what it is. We all love each other, you know.
Nice. Awesome. And is anyone in the business with you today?
Just my son. My son works for me. He's the director of technology. He's 22, 23 years old. So I brought him in. He went to school. He didn't love school. He loved video gaming technology. And, I wasn't around raising him when I was working all day, all night, blazing my path to give them what I could. And, so, I wish I would have had him a little more hands-on with me, but he's doing great. He's taken my whole company and synchronized everything with the data, and he studies it. So that's his forte,
That's awesome.
It's important now.
Yeah.
It's everything, really. Data is everything.
It is, but I remember running a restaurant, and I didn't need any of it. And you called me, and I made your reservation on a piece of paper. I get a review in Zagat's and Newsday, and I'm packed for 6 months, right? Now, today, we need all this technology for the consumer. They all eat off us. Everybody's taking from us. Everyone's making money from us, like you guys run a payroll company, right? Back in the day, payroll was a little simpler. Now, with the legalities, living in New York City, state, how complicated it is. You need a full-time lawyer on speed dial. You got to write contracts. You got to protect yourself. You got to be proactive. And then you got Open Table to take your reservation. You got Google, search engine optimization. You got your website. You got all this credit card, no cash no more. Everybody's credit. So you're talking about 10% of your revenue is gone.
Right away.
Yeah. So the restaurant hospitality business, it's nothing like it used to be. It's not near as profitable. It's way harder than ever. It's hard to find the employees. I watch people open restaurants all the time, and I see, and it's a tough business. It's a grind, and it's made me successful. I've done a lot of things, saving my money, building, developing, doing other things. There's so much more easier ways to make money today than in a restaurant. But people are gravitated like the bug life, look at the bright light. I want to be in a restaurant. Wonderful. Oh, look what I'm done. Yeah, you're done. And you wiped out all your angels and investors because you had a good idea, Oh, you could cook a meatball hero today, It's,
You left not left the state of New York, but you branched out of the state of New York. See the big difference between operating from Georgia in particular?
Yes,
right?
but it's all changed everywhere. Even in Georgia. Okay. Yeah. Everything with technology today. If you look at the states, you look at a town, you look at a county, you look at a city, you look at everything, everyone's using the technology. So everybody's trying to basically control what you do, how you do it. Everyone has an opinion. The Department of Health everywhere now is like a taxation, inspection facility, but it's all about generating money. It's all about employing people. That level of employment I never respected. I do not respect employment on taxation and regulation. I respect, the entrepreneurs who are creating jobs, not the city, the state, based on tax revenue and based on fees and regulations,
You see or have a desire to do another restaurant?
I could franchise Uncle Jack's Steakhouse tomorrow, right? And sell out 100 locations throughout the country. So if I wanted to do that, that's, that would be my next thing. I've opened restaurants. I was at 10. Now I'm down to 4. I've built restaurants, and I've had hard times lately building them, make them. I design them, decorate them. I'm a very creative person. I'm in every inch of it. So you're not going to meet many people in the restaurant business who know every aspect as much as me. Every aspect. I'll do it all. I've done it all.
And what do you feel? I know you mentioned before work ethic, right? When we were growing up, it was Mike and myself both had paper routes growing up. And, now you ask someone, what did you do when you were 12, 13 years old? They're like,
well, that's society.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I think, how have you seen that roll down on the employee level of just attractiveness of
the entitledness is crazy. I just started a girl today, a new social media public. I've been looking for a year. The interviews I've had, are you going to buy me a new phone? What do you mean? I got to buy you a new phone? Well, I want the latest iPhone if I'm going to have to take pictures for you. What kind of phone you got now? right? Well, I live in Manhattan. I got to come to Bayside for an interview. Will you pay for the? You want me to pay for you to get on the train to come see me to give you a job? This is the type of stuff I'm like blown away.
Drives you insane.
But this is how they were taught. Is it their fault? This is their parenting. This is what society's telling them. Society telling them they're the secret. They're special. They're worth this. Forget me, Willie Degel, what I'm going to teach them. I'm like, you should pay me what I'm going to teach you. What do you know what to do? You went to school. You took a class. You got a piece of paper. I wipe my ass with degrees all day long. I don't care about your degree. What have you done? You don't even know how to talk. I give you a couple of days. Do you know? Do you do background or what? Do you know anything about the restaurant? You know anything about me? You're calling me, right? Are you not being proactive? Like, you want me to tell you exactly what to do for the interview? So it's I don't blame them. I blame society. I blame parenting. I blame the hoopla everywhere, what they believe. The wrong becomes the norm. And podcasts and social media is making it worse because there's a lot of fake news and fake people and bullshit fraud that make everything look easy. It's not easy.
Willie, you think you have any good eggs inside the restaurants that?
Oh, I have incredible people.
Yes. Step up to be the next level of management,
yes,
or maybe even more, and come to you and say, "Hey, Willie,
yes.
I love this place.
Yes.
Can I be part of it?"
Always. You always want to grow from within, right? And you want to do what you can with people you know already that you trust and they're loyal and they're going to do the yabba dabba do system, right? So that's why franchising works so well. And people say, why? It's because, you open a restaurant, you spend $2 million today. It's $2 million. It's show business now, right? So $2 million is nothing. What's a chair cost? $350 to put a chair at the stool.
Right.
And how much money you got to make and how much how much you're paying them just to make that drink. So to franchise, a guy comes to me and says, Willie, you got the legacy, you got the brand, you got the knowledge, you got know-how, you got the structure, you got the system. I love Uncle Jack's. Well, I want to open a restaurant in this town or city. Let's do an Uncle Jack's. I want to put up the money. Teach me. I'll run it your way and do it your way. Wow, that's great. Today, you want to hire a manager. The guy's like, I need $150,000 a year because I got an apartment, 2 cars, I got 3 kids on the way. What do you know how to do?
And I need a new cell phone.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I need that too. I lived in my mother's basement the first 7 years, right?
Right.
I didn't tell you to get all of that and do all of that, And a lot of guys have failed in the restaurant business, failed chefs, and then they want to come manage. And what happened? Where'd your restaurant go? Well, I didn't, I didn't have enough money. Why didn't you have enough money? I paid myself this. I paid my chef that, who was my friend. You're paying yourself this much money? You just opened? I'm like, you were the problem. Wasn't your staff? You want to blame everybody else? You were paying yourself. You were robbing from your own self, right? You were robbing from yourself before you succeed. But there's a lot of great people out there, and the American dream is still alive. You got to want it. You got to show me you want it.
Yeah, and you've been in business since 1996.
1996 is when I opened Uncle Jackson.
Next year is 30 years.
30 years. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Congrats.
And 30 years in our business. It's an institution.
Yeah. And can it go for another 30?
Mm-hmm. No problem. I own the property. That's very important.
Okay.
So you're not dealing with a landlord that's looking to become your partner. And, I see all these things in the city. If I was running the city and I was the mayor, I would have never let CBGBs close. I would have never let all these legendary places go out of business. I would have said, okay, the city's going to help you stay there. The developers are going to build around you. But let these iconic places, what made us what we are, still be there. Like, it's a museum, you know what I mean? CBGB's was a musician's museum. It's incredible, the stories and stuff like that, and all these other places. So it's important to have the good property and have good landlords. If you do that, understand that without us serving the community, being the creative forces and giving it life and giving it a legacy, and everybody's day in, day out. Every morning you wake up, you got a routine, right? Where you going to eat, what you're going to drink, where's your cup of coffee, you're going to the gym, whatever it is, you got a routine. You're listening to a podcast, whatever it is, you have a routine. And all these people operating these businesses and small business are a part of that routine. Now, the internet's changed a lot retail-wise, right? Amazon, everything's getting crushed. Retail's done. But you have so many other eateries taking up. Everything they eat has become individualized. One store does crepes. One store does a bubble tea. One store does cappuccino. One store does donuts. Everything is so individualized with a young entrepreneur trying to run these small businesses. And you need that in the community, and you need the landlord to understand, and you need the tenants there, and you need the support. So it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot for anyone today.
It's the key retailers driving up the rest of their value or their appreciation of the property, not necessarily if you remove those key pieces, it's going to lower the value of that area.
You know, well, Starbucks will come in and pay triple compared to someone else. Banks pay a lot, you know. Brokers, you know, the big real estate firms, they pump up the numbers, take all the best locations. The restaurant business, it's a lot of people to do the one task, to serve you, to make sure you had a great experience. It's a lot of moving parts, and it's people-driven. Yeah. It's not robotic. You can have the best technology, the best payroll, all of that. But without the people bringing that restaurant to life, digging in, caring, loving that customer, what are you?
Your staff been with you a long time?
Yeah. I mean,
most?
Yeah, I mean, you know, people come and go, but yeah, I got people with me 30 years in Bayside from the day I opened.
That's their career.
Yeah, I've taught them from nothing. But most of the people that's their career, they're people who came to America with minimal, you know, what would I say?
Belongings?
They had nothing, and they wanted to learn and build a career. And you teach them people.
No entitlement.
You know, no entitlement. Ready to work. Teach me. Eyes wide open. You know, my porter in Bayside, Jose, he's with me 28 years. The day I hired him, I gave him his whites. You know, he came in to be a dishwasher. Small little, like, muscle-bound, strong guy. So I watch him put on his clothes, and he folds his pants nice. He folds his sleeve, and he's soaked. So I said, when's your birthday? In Spanish, he says, September. I said, me too. You a Virgo? He says, September 7th. I said, I'm the 1st. I said, you know, you're not washing dishes. I said, you're going to be my right hand. You're going to be my cleaner, my porter. You're going to do and watch everything I do every day. And you're going to be my eyes. And I'm going to give you a toolbox. And these are all the little things I do. And he's 27 years later. And every day I come to that restaurant, and Jose is smiling and outgoing to everyone and knows the store inside and out. And then managers think it's Jose's job to manage the restaurant. I'm like, it's not Jose's job. I'm like, do you pay Jose? Do you give him extra money? Like, this is your job. Jose's been here, and he's instilled. He's seen guys like you come and go because you don't want to work, you know? But guys like that are irreplaceable, and that's the American dream, and that's amazing to me. And all my chefs in my kitchens all started from nothing and built their way up and learned. And you see, you got to work with your team. It's no different than running a sports. You got to know who's good at what. And you got to see, okay, you're not good at this. You got to put yourself, now you're going to go here. So I saw Jose was a cleaner organizer, and that's where he flourished.
What do you think that genetic makeup makes him different? The humbleness,
I think,
desire?
I mean, he had nothing, you know, and he wants to work. And then he met someone that'll mentor him and teach him and show him and reward him and move him up. Right? You got to keep rewarding and moving people up. People got to be willing to start somewhere. When I hire someone and you tell me you worked $150,000, I did this, I work for corporate America, I don't like corporate America. You want to work? All right, I'll give you 75 to start. What do you mean? I mean, I don't care what you mean. I can't afford $150,000, and you hated the job. You didn't like it. Well, now you're going to work directly with me. I'm going to make you love the job. I'm going to press all your buttons. I'm going to work you. I'm going to push you. I'm going to drive you. You want to quit. We're going to get into it. We're going to argue. We're going to fight. I'm going to curse you out. You're going to either like it, and I'm going to rebuild you, and I'm going to make you a winner. Because right now you're a quitter. You ran from that position, and you're coming to me. What's going to say you're not going to quit and run from me and talk shit about me? That's how I look at it. Like, I got to put a lot into you. I'm taking a lot of risk, and I got to put into you, and I'm paying you. You know, that's how I see it.
Yeah.
And that's how entrepreneurs usually see it, right? It's like, okay, what are we going to do together? You know, it's not just the payroll. It's not just the number you throw out, that corporate world. You Googled it somewhere. I Google it. This is what I'm supposed to get paid. That's great. Get that job. Go over there. This is reality.
Yeah.
And then when did you, how soon after Bayside did you open up the city?
West Side, West Side's opened 21 years now. Okay. You know?
And you own that property also?
No, that's a big building. That was
Wish you all know.
SL Green was my customers. So Giuliani always came, SL Green, all the big deal people in Queens would always come to me because how I treated them. And, you know, to me, you know, I did a show once and I talked about being a servant. And then, you know, the other side took it and said I wanted everyone to be a slave. And that's not what I ever said. What I said is we had a servant mentality, you know. You were coming to my house and I'm going to serve you and I'm going to do everything you need. And I'm a purveyor. And if I don't have that particular scotch, I'm getting that scotch for you. I'm going to tax you. I'm going to charge you, but I'm going to get you whatever you want, whatever you need. That's what I'm going to do. That's my job. So I'm a salesman, right? In my little house, in our environment. We're going to execute and blow you away and give you hugs, kisses, love you, and make sure you come back forever. So that was important. And SL Green came and they said, hey, we just bought this building. It's in the garment district, 9th Avenue. It's a druggy, infested, horrible area. But I saw it wasn't bad from God and wasn't bad from Jacob Javits, had some things. I said, there's some nucleuses there. So they said, we'll help you out. And I went there and built it. And, you know, and it's, you know, they're 21 years too.
Congrats.
Yeah,
we were just there. I guess we left the Javits and we came over for dinner.
Yeah.
Now, have you seen your success in the city kind of bleed into from the Queens location because of being able to, you know, kind of create such a community around it?
Well,
the city's tough. It's very transient, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah. But again, I'm a creature of habit, right? You're gonna go with what you know. I ran that store every day. I lived there. In the beginning, I lived there, you know. I put my best captain up in the hotel down the block. I gave them gift cards to give him a room. I made him work. And everyone's like, why you let Gary come? I'm like, because Gary's check average is $25 more a person. So Gary's paying the bills right now. Gary's paying the rent. That's how good Gary was. He knew, he cared like me, you know. And, you know, you look back, and then I had my Midtown store on 56 between 5th and 6th. I opened that a few years later. That had a 10-year run. Then Trump was running for presidency. They shut my block down. They put us out of business, put everyone on the block out of business. And just like that, you have a business that's successful, doing $5.5 million, making you almost $1 million a year profit, you're out of business. What happened? They blocked the traffic. They had snipers on the roof. Your staff couldn't come to work. They did all of that. And then they just controlled. Nobody was allowed down the block in any vehicle. So, and they didn't care. There was just politics because of Trump. All the protesting, you know. I was ready to make it a Democratic Party restaurant and all you could eat for free, you know, if they paid my rent, whatever. It's like, okay, all right, I'll join you. Let's go, you know. But, you know, and the legacy and the customer base, and then Madison Square Garden, Jacob Javits, those are routines, right? Yeah. Javits has a set routine. The Knicks, the Rangers, the Garden has a set routine. You build off that. And then everything about the restaurant business is building life's memories. So now in Bayside, I have generations of kids that come and their memories were at Uncle Jack's. Their experiences were Uncle Jack's. So we're selling an experience. We're selling memories. Palate and eating is an educational form, right? If you eat at Applebee's every day, what do you really know about food? You know nothing. It's boil in a bag junk, right? So you know Applebee's. You come to Uncle Jack's and you're like, whoa, what was I eating before? Wow, you remember that. You remember the show, Spiros with his thing, telling you about the meat, how it's aged. It's educational. It's an experience. You did it with your dad. They took you for your birthday, an anniversary, a closing, whatever it was. It was an experience. We eat memories. You loved your grandmother's food. You loved going over there. Even if it stunk, you loved it. It was a memory experience, right? And that's what eating is. And that's the hospitality. I call it hospitality, right? Because I own houses, steak houses, you know?
Talk about dry age processing. By no means are you sitting across from an expert, but definitely have seen you talk about that, and I'm assuming you're still involved in that part of the process.
Yeah, we dry age and finish in every store. We have our meat boxes. We have our finishing boxes. So when I first opened almost 30 years ago, I was the first person to bring Kobe beef to America. You know, I ordered a live steer from Kobe, Japan. Okay. That's why it was always called Kobe. Now the buzzword's Wagyu. Back in the day, the buzzword was Kobe, because Kobe is where it was originated. So it was all big steers that raised and ran the rice paddies. So it was big and strong. So how they fed it, and they suspended it, and they fed it sake, and they massage rubbed it. It was some way, if I ever came back, I want to come back at Kobe steer for a short term. Right?
Take me with you.
Well, it's like getting a happy ending. You know what I mean? So that was the region Kobe, and then Wagyu started becoming the crossbreed, right? So I'm 30 years watching the DNA and the stories, and when I first opened Uncle Jackson Basin, I was a certified Black Angus steakhouse. So now everyone knows Black Angus. Well, it just started when I was opening. And what that was is a bunch of cattle ranchers were getting their Black Angus steers, DNA qualified. Okay, that's all they're breeding. And then they joined a conglomerate, a marketing company, said certified Black Angus, and they were going to charge more money, but you had the marketing power, the buzz, the commercials, all of that. So that's what certified Black Angus was. Then you had Hereford. Now Wagyu's crossbred everywhere, Australia, America, New Zealand, Japanese, all over Japanese. So.
Pretty cool.
And the dry aging, what you wanted to get to. So dry aging, you know, you have people now doing crazy, stupid things on the internet, you know, dipping it in butter, wrapping it in whiskey butter. But what happens with dry aging, I was dry aging for years. You know, the more you dry age, the more intense the aroma and flavors get. And I remember sometimes, you know, you run in a restaurant, you dry age in 35 days. But sometimes I'm serving 50, 60 days. And I remember cooking it. And the customers going, whoa. Now, back then I had people that could smoke cigars and cigarettes. So the dry aging process with people who smoke cigars and cigarettes, people who smoke cigars and cigarettes, they drank a lot of cognac, a lot of whiskeys and bourbons, because their palate from the cigar and cigarette was so torched and burnt, they needed something to affect their taste buds more. Wow. And because then they're drinking the heavy booze and the cognacs, and then the more I dry aged it, the more they loved it. So I'm dry aging things 100 days, wow. You know, and people like it. It's a richer, deeper, intense flavor. But you also eat with your nose. So the steak comes to you, you're smelling it. So you're already eating it. And you're eating it, seeing it, and that's why we char well. We're what you call the char house. We have 18 degrees, you know, infrared broilers, and we char. And everyone, like, I opened in the South in Georgia, you char, they think it's burnt. They're clueless. They're used to beige meat. If you put out a beige steak in Uncle Jack's, I'm firing you. You know, beige steak is it's like a naked cow, right?
Got it.
You know, and cow. Everyone in Georgia thought cows were steak because of Chick-fil-A. They put the cows up. So I'm like, no, cows give milk. Moo. Steers give the beef. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, cows give milk. Steers give beef. Cow, you don't kill a cow after a year and a half. Right. You keep the cow pumping milk out all day long like an ATM machine, right? You know? That's what it is. It's pumping. Sometimes that's what I feel like. I tell my wife, get off. No more milk. Moo. You know? All right. Domino leche.
So
give me the milk.
What else have you noticed between, you know, running the business down in Georgia versus New York, besides, you know, the definition of a cow?
Yeah. I mean, Georgia people are hospitality, good people, but everyone in Georgia is slower than New York, you know? The slowest people in New York are faster than the people in Georgia, you know? You know, and a lot of people are super nice and hospitable, and they wave at you, and they're ready to fucking stab you in the back too. It's so different than New York. You know? They're just nicer around.
They're just displaced, right?
Yeah, New York be like, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? All right, yeah. New York is a little different. We're a little rough and territorial at first, but then we're hugging and loving you. We can even have a fist fight, and then afterwards we're best friends. You know. So the South, they're a little, you know, you got that too, but you know, they're slick. They're slick.
We jumped right into conversation, but the name Uncle Jack's, does it come from a relative?
Yeah, that was my godfather. He was the hiring boss of the Longshoreman Union, Irish gangster, Jack Foley, and that was my mother's brother. And when I was young, she said, "You're so much like my brother. You're a lot like my brother," and that's how it was.
Got it.
And your middle name's Jack, too. Right?
Yes, William Jack. Yep.
Gotcha.
And Jack gave my father his job and put him on the piers because he was dating my mother, So he was always someone putting people to work. And I remember going to his house in Jersey, and it was a split-level ranch on 2 acres. He had a built-in pool. He had little dogs, and everyone was at his house and hanging out. And we're all going crazy. But the minute Jack walked in the house, everybody calmed down, because he liked things the same way. He was the boss.
Yeah.
And my mother always said I had the same aura, She said, "You have that gift." It's just.
I see you brought seasoning.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So this is the Steak Doctor's secret seasoning. So for me, cooking and grilling and eating and loving food and passionate. So I've traveled all over the world, and flavor is everything, right? And a great steak or any food needs good salts, need good peppers. So I put a blend of like 5 different salts from all over the world, different peppers, and I created this secret seasoning. You sprinkle it on anything. Like I tell my friends, your wife's in a bad mood, sprinkle a little bit on her. She'll taste really good when you're done with it, right? So it's fantastic to use on everything. And once you use it, you'll never not cook without it, right? Because seasoning's everything. And in the kitchen, you got to be organized. And this makes your life easier because it's so many things in one. So it's like a little fairy dust for everything.
Where do you sell it?
We sell it just at UncleJacks.com. Right?
Okay.
It's not distributed anywhere.
Sold in the restaurants or no?
Yeah, in the restaurants too.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How many people do you serve a week between the...
Thousands of people. Like my Bayside store sits 40 people. We do like 800 people a week, right? So that little store serves a lot of people.
Wow.
Like on Mother's Day, we'll do 250 people.
And you open every day of the year?
7 days a week, yeah. No, we close Christmas and we close Thanksgiving. I don't want anybody working Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Nice. It's time for the recharge family.
Yeah, it's a holiday. I mean,
Sure.
I think everybody should be with their family.
Well, obviously you have a ton of knowledge, and I think I wanted to kind of segue into doing the show that you were on for a little bit of time. Was it Food Network?
Yeah, it was the Food Network.
And how did that come about? Did they reach out to you, or
what happened was some producers ran an ad on Craigslist for America's Toughest Boss. And they said, 100 names came in. And they said, we're going to call the first person who was named 5 times. No one else was ever named even twice. So the first person they called was Willie Degel. And when they called me, they sounded like lawyers. So I was rough on them. I thought they were trying to set me up for a lawsuit or something, right? Because at the time I was fighting a lot of labor lawsuits because everyone in the industry was going through it. Right? Yeah. So I'm rough on that. So they're laughing. So then they come meet me and they want to meet me in my office, and they meet me in the office in Bayside, and I'm sitting at my desk and my kids and pictures are on the wall, and they're like, so they want to interview me, like, tell me who you are. And I'm like, well, I wake up every day, I look in the mirror, and I'm like, I'm the man. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I look in the mirror, and I'm like, I'm the fucking man. And I tell that to myself 3 times. And by the 3rd time, I'm like, who's the fucking man? I'm the man. And I'm looking in my eyes wide open. And I leave that house ready to take on the world and build my dream. And my little daughter's next to me, and I'm teaching her to think and be positive and to see the vision and go be willing to work for it. And they're like, you talk to yourself? I'm like, yeah. It's called self-motivation, If I don't believe in me, who's going to believe in me? I got to believe in me because I'm the one taking a risk. I said, so that's why I never lie. I tell everybody the truth. Why is that? And I'm like, well, if you lie, you know you lie. So how can you tell yourself you're going to do anything that you're going to set your mind to? You're full of shit. Right. So I don't lie for anybody. I don't care. My wife asks me how the outfit looks. I think it looks like shit. I tell her. I don't like it. No, put something tight and curvy.
She appreciate that?
White and tight. Yes, she knows who I am.
That's when he sprinkles the...
Yes. No, but my wife appreciates because my wife wants to look good for me.
Sure.
So she's fine with it. She's fine with it. That's part of our relationship. It's part of who, if you're around me, you embrace that. If you don't like it, don't come around me. I don't care. I'm not living for you. I don't care if you like me or not. That's not in my DNA. Now, other people live for people to like them. And that's okay. Go ahead. See if you could call that guy and he'll get up 3 o'clock in the morning and come down an alley and stab everybody for you. Because I will. Because I'm your friend and I'm real.
Sure.
And I'm going to tell you when you're fucking up. I'm going to tell you you're an idiot. I'm going to tell you when you're doing drugs, you got to stop. So, I'm Captain Positive, but with that positive comes the truth. And you got to be willing to listen to the truth. So I'm hard on myself. When I say I'm looking in that mirror, I'm always at every level when I'm going through shit. I never blame anyone. I blame myself, right? And that's important.
How old's your daughter now?
My oldest is 30.
Okay.
And I have 2 grandkids, Mateo and Luki, and my son, and then my youngest is 21, Alyssa.
2.
3 kids.
Three.
Yeah. Alyssa, Lexi, Dylan, and Alyssa.
And just your son is coming into the business?
Yeah, Lexi worked for me for years. Okay. She was like my assistant in the office, but then she got married, pregnant, and that was it.
Okay. Nice.
That's her life.
She's blessed you with grandchildren.
Yeah, beautiful. This is the best. Awesome. It's changed me tremendously. Yeah.
How often do you see them?
Oh, at least 3-4 times a week. She lives 5 minutes away.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I want to see them as much as possible because they fill your heart with joy.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's like amazing.
Someone said to me one time that grandchildren are the gift of getting through raising kids.
Well, like I said, with my son, I wasn't there as much as I am with my grandkid. Like my grandkid, I do a lot of things with him. Mm-hmm. I'm out with him. I'm outside digging holes, planting plants, whatever it is, getting them dirty. With my son, I couldn't do it because I was busy building houses, building restaurants, driving to build the wealth, And my mother and my mother-in-law and my helper was, working with the kids. It's just how it was. I was on a mission.
Nice to hear that you get to spend that much time with them.
Yeah. And I tell my son, and he's like, it's okay, Dad. It's all right. I understood. But my son went through some stuff. It was tough for him because he used to watch me rip and roar, and I'd be on the phone and ripping and roaring, and he'd see me get upset, and it bothered him. He didn't like seeing me like that. And you don't realize it's affecting him. He's getting that, and it's negative to him, and he didn't like it. Like, what's going on? What's happening? Why is my dad upset? He didn't like it. But, you get later on, you go through it, and he understands now because he sees what I do and how much I do, and he understands. But you got to learn how to deal with it better as well as a father.
Is he tough like you?
No. None of my kids are tough like me. I don't want them to be tough like me. My son, when he would go to bed every night, I would whisper him, be a surfer dude. Be a surfer dude. I got everything covered. You go be surfing, be one with the water, be into the earth, and be a handsome surfer dude. Because to me, I would watch a surfer dude and go, that guy's free, right? I'm not free. I got these demons in my head, right? I can't turn them off. That guy's free, No, right?
100%, yeah.
Let's shift gears a little bit and go more personal, and I'll say misery loves company. Mm-hmm. You got a Mets and a Jets fan here, right?
You're Mets and Jets.
Right?
I grew up going to Shea. My brother Jimmy and Eddie worked in Shea Stadium when they were young, so we all went to every Met game, every Jet game, and we were there with the World Series and when we won the '86 series. So I'm a diehard Met fan. All the Mets used to come to my first bar because my brother worked there, and I used to let them guest bartend. So big. Yeah, I'm not a Yankee fan. I don't mind the Yankees. I don't have time to hate them. Mm-hmm. I don't hate. I don't give hate energy. Hate to me is just bad energy. But I like the Yankees. If they win, God bless them. I like watching them.
Hopeful the Mets might do something soon.
Yeah, the Mets look great.
Look good. So far, so good.
They look good.
I mean, last night was
between the Mets and the Knicks yesterday. When I have my nieces and my nephews are all out of Texas, and they my one nephew, Andrew, he's 24, he's an FBI agent. He's like, I'm 24 and I can't take this stress. He's like, it's a lot of energy. I'm like, now you know, right? It's hard.
Yeah. I mean, I was born 1980, so 1986 was the best, and then it's been.
New York doesn't make it easy on us for anything. Right?
I'm a diehard Ranger fan.
Yeah, me too. Big Ranger. Love the Rangers. Yeah. I mean, we fell apart. but we were weak. You know, you saw it the last 2 years. We were weak. Kreider was weak.
Yeah.
You know, Savannah Jet weak. Right. Miller weak. We had no tough, grinded, push,
Matthew
physical. In the
Tkachuk
playoffs,
type.
we got abused.
Yeah.
They disappeared.
Yeah.
They disappeared.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you see a fluctuation at the City restaurant regarding like busy time and sports is just,
Sure.
I mean, the
Of
Knicks
course,
are always
of
on a
course.
high even when they were horrible.
The Rangers really drive the restaurant even more than the Knicks, but the Knicks bring in business. Anything really going well at the Garden is great for me. Everything going well at Jacob Javits. Now, in West Side, I'm there 21 years.
Yeah.
They rebuilt the whole Hudson Yards.
Yeah.
Everything around me's gone high, right? Skyrise. So I thought I would double my business. So I signed a new lease, 20-year extension with COVID, but nobody's moved into these buildings. They're empty.
But they've added a ton of retail though also. I mean,
It's you know,
they don't have the
there's no traffic. These retail's dead.
Yeah.
These high-end.
well that mall
high-end
they put in Hudson Yards is
dead.
dead.
It's
We
dead.
walked in there
It's dead.
when we were there
All the
last
restaurants, they change in the restaurants constantly, you know, but the buildings are empty. Right, so Chris Street for me was a 5-story building. It was Emblem Health. Guy bought it, gutted it, went up 40 stories, 30 stories, and Peloton and Lyft was supposed to come. Well, Peloton and Lyft never came. No one wants to work. So Mondays the city's dead. Friday it's dead. People come in 3 days.
Yeah.
That's how it is. Then you got down the block on 9th, right near Penn Station, you got 5 million square feet office buildings over the railroad empty. So everything's empty.
Yeah.
You know, it's the city's, you know, the city's in transformation. One of my friends works for a big window company called Skyline Windows. They're one of the biggest in the city. They're doing a lot of the window transformation on the corporate buildings. So some of these corporate buildings are now coming up and they're apartment buildings, right? So I guess they're going to try and take the city and make it a living city, right? So you're going to have hundreds of buildings where they're not corporate offices no more, they're apartments. But I don't know how they're going to attract all these people to come live in the city with the crime rate, with the taxation, with everything, and no cars. We just want walking people. It's like something out of a movie.
Cost of living.
It's like this is the end. Right?
I was in the city Friday and Saturday, and the traffic. I go, so much for this congestion pricing.
Yeah.
It's just as much traffic as there was.
Yeah. I mean,
You
that's just everything we look at, the way the city is being run, it's just a tax-based, revenue, fee-based city. That's how it's run, you know?
I guess-
And who pays? We do.
Yeah.
We all pay.
Tax-based.
And how's our services? How's the transit run?
How's things in your business have kind of transformed since COVID? I mean, obviously being close to the Javits Center, you know, both of your locations were under New York City closure rules.
It was tough. It was hard. I mean, you know, what was crazy was, you know, there was so much free money out there. Like we were when we did open, we were selling things I would never imagine. People are drinking $75 margaritas, you know, with the most expensive tequila in it. And I'm like, who's drinking margaritas? But people were blowing money. Money didn't have value because they were getting it for free, right?
Yeah.
So so you had to adapt. You had to see what was selling, what was coming. People were eating later. You know, that 1 year after COVID was a booming year. 2023 was a great year. And then everything started because the free money ran out.
Yeah.
All the savings, everyone blew their savings because inflation ate it up fast.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
you couldn't raise your prices fast enough. You know, I try not to raise my prices a lot, you know, because it's tough. You know, you're trying to be a neighborhood place.
And that's got to be challenging with the just the cost of
Yeah.
food in general, but beef in particular,
Well,
right?
you're fighting labor, you're fighting all the other regulations, all the technology, and then you're fighting everything, right? And then you're fighting food cost. So insurance costs went up, right? Technology costs went up. Everything went up. So if you're looking, if I had a digital scoreboard, I'd be changing it daily, you know, literally.
Yeah, like
That's how it was.
there's some restaurants the idea of where certain items are cheaper early, and then as they're like surge pricing almost based upon what time of day, what day of week.
They
it
were
is.
doing that, and if you want a reservation prime time, you're paying extra, all of that. But I believe the governor put a squash on that. You can't resell slots. You know, listen, those are fads. When people are willing to do that just to be in the new hotspot and take 8 o'clock, God bless them. You know, if you can make money, no one should tell you you can't. right? I don't think the governor should be able to tell you, oh, you can't resell a reservation. Someone wants to pay for it. Who are you, right? You know?
Well, I think it's like it's the premise behind it, right? It's like buying tickets at the Garden. If a bot or these brokers are buying up all the tickets at regular pricing, it's unfair to the person that actually wants to go sit and watch the show or eat at the restaurant. It's, you know, so I think that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, I mean, again, what it is, technology.
Yeah, that's it, technology.
It's technology. But if you look at the city, these technology companies are backing a lot of people with money. And what's the city installing more and more? Technology to what? Track everything we do. So there's a hidden agenda. It's like, let's create the crime. But okay, but we're going to try not to fight the crime. We're going to put cameras up to film the crime.
Well, I was coming out of the city on the Bell Parkway on Friday, and on your Waze, right, on the navigation, you start to come through Brooklyn, and you just see on the side of the parkway 4,000 cameras, like all the speed cameras. Yeah. And then you hit the Nassau County border, gone.
Yeah. Nassau has them not as much, but Suffolk did away with them all.
Yeah.
Suffolk got away with them, which was a huge move for them, which I think that was Suffolk trying to say, hey, Nassau, move here. You know, we're not going to tax you like this. Because coming through Queens on Northern Boulevard, it's 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Basically, Northern Boulevard now is slow. To do 25 miles an hour, you literally got to stay on the brakes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I drive from Old Brookville, so I get a ticket a week. And I'm like 32. Oh, my God. You know, you turn around, you're at 32. I got a ticket.
You're
$75.
on the phone, you're playing with the radio station.
It's, again, that revenue stream is taxation. Wait a minute. I am the taxpayer. I am creating the jobs. And now you're coming at me again. I'm paying a meter guy from a third world country who don't speak a word of English to make me pay $5 for the meter in front of my restaurant that I employ 30 people and generate millions of dollars in taxes. And it's $5 an hour. And he's waiting for me to miss 1 minute to write me a ticket.
That's crazy.
See it a lot of
and I'm paying him. Right? I'm paying him. It's crazy. You're right? And they have it to a science. They got it timed. But Bloomberg added a lot of that. See, I saw Bloomberg take the Department of Health, and when they first started with the grades, they would call you up, you're getting an inspection. My staff go, boss, man, you got good friends. I'm like, that's Bloomberg's system. They're like, what do you mean? He can't let everyone fail. He's implementing a new system, so they're calling you advanced to help you. They're training you to be ready for it. And they're like, you think? I'm like, of course they are. What are you talking about? They're calling everyone going, you got an inspection tomorrow at 2. Do your best. Then they would come, okay, you're not ready yet. We give you a pending. Then come back again. All right, you're almost there. Here's a pending again. Then, oh, you're good. You got an A. Thank you. How much that cost me?
I would imagine you're all over it anyway, regardless of the grade.
Of course you are, but when an inspection comes, they come in the middle of lunchtime, and in the dish room, there could be water on the floor, and that's $250.
Right.
There could be a fly in the restaurant.
The feeling
a fly.
Of entrapment.
A fly.
Yeah.
A fly. But you go to any other country in the world, there's food everywhere out on the street. But a halakot can be serving anything and never get. Come on. Get the hell out of here. Food, you eat that food and it hollers right back at you. You saw that one video, the guy was taking pigeons and serving them on his halakot. He was running low on chicken. They were busy making eggs for $10 a dozen.
Willie, where do you like to go with your wife, with your family? Would you go to another steakhouse, or do you just try to go to a completely different cuisine?
I don't go to other steakhouses because I'm a highly competitive personality. You know, it took me years to be able to go to restaurants without just looking at every aspect. But I go to a lot of different places. You know, I love going out to eat with my wife and kids. And like my youngest daughter last night, her boyfriend took her to Uncle Jack's in Bayside, but he didn't tell me. He was with me at the house, and they're like, "Oh, we're going out." And I'm like, "Where you going out? Where you going?" And he's like, "Oh, it's a secret," because he didn't want me to pay.
Secret shopping,
right? So then he just sends a picture. I said, "Well, you can only be in 2 places," you know. But I mean, I'm a meat eater. I grew up being a meat eater, you know, and I'm blood type O, so I'm happiest when I eat meat too. So I like meat.
So
all
if
my
kids.
kids.
If you don't go to other steakhouses, where do you go that you're able to get a good piece
Well,
of
my
meat?
favorite restaurant in the world is Mr. Chow's on 57th Street.
Okay.
So Mr. Chow, I've been going there since I'm like 17. So that's how long I've been going there. That's my favorite restaurant. I love that food, but you got to go there ready to eat, you know. And so but I go all over, Old Brookville and the Hamptons. I know all the restaurants, so you know I like what I like. But I cook a lot at home. I like to cook. I like to go shop. I'm just like my dad. I go to all my little places, get my stuff, and I like cooking. You know, and my kids will tell you, you know, everyone comes over. My daughter says, Dad just puts up pictures of what's on the stove as the bat signal. And then she shows up with my son-in-law, and he loves to eat. And now my new future, he says he's my future son-in-law. I tell him to slow down. And he says, you know, I said, you guys love my daughters for my meat. You like my cattle I'm raising, you know? Right? So we all like to eat. But food is love, right? And entertaining. I'm a natural-born entertainer. Like making a drink. I was a bartender. So, you know.
What about travel? Do you and your wife get out?
Yeah, we travel. We're going to go this year. Last year we went to Greece for 3 weeks. This year we're going to do Greece. We're going to do Italy, France. We travel. We were just in the Dominican Republic. We go to Puerto Rico. We go to Mexico. We don't travel in America a lot, you know. But this summer I might want to go visit the Yellowstone, you know, over there and see all of that. So we'll see.
The going back to restaurant stakeout, how many you did? A lot of episodes.
75 episodes I did in 3 years. Yeah, it was a lot of work. It burnt me out. I got burnt out. I got an anxiety attack like a couple of weeks after that. I never had anxiety, and my wife booked a trip for me to go away, and I that night before getting on a plane, I had an anxiety attack.
Wow. I
didn't want to go on a plane. I wasn't ready. I couldn't shut everything down. And I'm like, I don't feel good. Something's wrong with me. I don't know what's going on, but I don't want to go on the plane.
Did you get so entrenched in just seeing others and feeling like if it was yours that it would be a problem? Or was it just a show to you?
No, it wasn't just a show to me. The whole thing, when the guys found me and then we wanted to do the show, I went to the Food Network. They asked me, these networks, 5 networks wanted me. And I said, well, let's go meet with the Food Network. And I said, what I want to do is I want to teach people the business. I want to show them how hard it is. And I said, I went to the Food Network, and we sit down in their room, and all their famous chefs on the wall. You know, everybody. I said, every one of them's failed miserably and lost millions of dollars for people. And they said, how do you know? Because I said, I track. I know what they do. I said, so let's teach people. Why? Because people wonder why, right? I'm like, because they're chefs. They're not business people. They don't know what they're doing. Chefs work with passion. They don't understand cost. They don't understand staffing, execution, all of that. They need business managers behind them. And in the beginning, they don't have it, and everyone comes to them, throws money at, and they get it. And then later on, now they're still successful. But there's a lot of pressure on people when you're that big. People come, they want the best experience they've ever had. They don't even know what it is, what they want. You know? But food is food. It's not complicated, right? Sure. You know, you can build the most fancy restaurant, but food is food. You know, so that's how the show started, and we called it Restaurant Stakeout, and that's how it rolled. And we did 75 episodes, and they wanted me to do another season, and that would have put me at 100 episodes. So I said I wanted allocation, I wanted money. I wanted money for everything you sold. You're selling them all over the world. So now my show's sold all over the world, and I'm getting 2.5 million viewers on a Wednesday night. You know, you learn the business of it, right? When I first started, they didn't want to give you nothing. They talk about reality TV, right? Then I see what's going on, and everybody I'm meeting, they're like, how are you doing this? I'm like, what are you talking about? So, like, everybody else has cameras. I mean, they have writers. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? They're like, yeah, they got writers. Like, people tell them what to say and do. They put buds in their ear. I'm like, they're puppets, you know? And I'm like, I've been on news shows and, you know, everything, and you see programming in session, and I go on Willie, but everybody else reads a teleprompter and says yabba dabba doo today, right? So I'm like, that's what reality TV is, right? And the camera guy and the mic guy's like, yeah, like whatever you're getting paid ain't enough because you're just killing it. You're just showing up and going. And me, everything was time is money. So I wanted to go. No one could keep up with me. Everyone, they're in production. Slow is the norm. And I'm like, let's maximize. So I started building my own production team and weeding out the weak. You're taking a lot of breaks. You're smoking pot. You're over here. You're drinking. I smell. You're disappearing. You're off my team. You're not working with me. So I put a crew together. We had a good crew that was intense and into me and my energy and how I was. And we were rolling. And then when we would reboot, they would leave their other shows to come because they wanted to be involved with that because they were taking a lot from me, right? And that's what I always wanted to do. I wanted to help people. So when you're filming and you meet a guy and his dad gave him a restaurant and he's a piece of shit and I got to work with him, I know right away you're a fraud. And I would literally go, I'm not filming, I'm leaving. I'm like, I can't work with this guy. I can't film with him. He don't care. He just wants to be on TV. He's full of shit. He don't care. And they're like, nah, Willie, these are the best shows. What are you talking about? Everyone's going to know you hate him. You know what I mean? And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you're going to tear him up. And everyone's going to know Willie hates this guy. And it was tough for me because I'm not a fake. And I'm not an actor. Right? And I'm not a puppet. I'm not just going to go. I remember I went and filmed with Bobby Flay on a one thing. And guy comes in and tells Bobby, go like this. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what is that? What? Someone's telling him. And I come in and I'm like, all right, Bobby, I got Willie Vision Live TV is up here. That's your crew. And this your crew. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you do this? Yeah. So, and the main guy from the Food Network came after watching me film 2 episodes, and he came to me and says, I want to talk to you. I said, what's the matter? He says, Willie, you're shooting an Uzi. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're so fast. You're so used to working for yourself and producing and maximizing and making decisions to go. TV, we can't keep up with you. The camera people can't. The viewers are not going to keep up with you because you went from one line that was fucking hilarious in this, and you already went to the other one. We can't edit it. We need you to slow down. I'm like, slow down? Yeah? Oh, okay, why? And then he explained. So he said, if you see some people, we have to tell them what to say and do, Willie. Literally. But people like them. America likes them. They're used to them. Now we got you coming. No one can tell you what to say or do because you won't do it.
Right.
If they tell you, you tell them, fuck you. It's just fine, but you got to slow down a little. I'm like, oh, okay. So I learned to slow down.
A little bit.
Yeah, it was tough. That was tough for me because I was putting so much heart and soul. I thought that if I spent a week with you, that I can almost cure you. And afterwards, when I had the anxiety, I went to my doctor and he says, I was watching the show and I'm like, fucking Willie, you ready? What are you doing to yourself? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I watched you. I know you. And I'm like, you literally think you're curing people. He's like, you think you're curing people. You think you're giving it and that's it. They're going to be good. I'm like, wow. And he said, you got to fake it. He said, you can have a career, but you can't be you.
Right.
You got to fake it.
And that's not going to work for you.
And it didn't work for me. So when they came back and I asked for more money in the syndication, they said, no, we don't do that in reality. I'm like, well, you're signing Bobby and all these other people all this money. Well, they've been here a long time. I'm like, well, my numbers are just as good as them. I'm only here that long. What do I care? And what I'm doing, no one's doing. So they came back and I didn't, at the network, I had a lot of ideas with the show. And back then, the people who owned the network, if I went to anyone, it was all young kids working there with no experience. And here's a guy who's self-taught businessman, entrepreneur, doing everything. I'm a fucking guru. And I'm coming to you, and you're young, and I'm like, yeah, let's do live tweet, let's do this, let's do question and answer, let's do aftermaths, all this stuff. And you're going to me before I even, in the middle of the sentence, you say, no, we don't do that.
Now they all do it.
No, we don't do that.
No, I'm saying now, today,
I know.
yeah.
But that's what I was getting. And I'm not used to that either. So I'm like, no, I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like,
it was time to shut it down.
So I said, you know what? I'm not going to do it. So then they came back to me and they're like, okay, we got Yelp. Yelp wants to hire you. They want to give you big money. They want to make you the face of Yelp. I'm like, I hate Yelp. Fuck Yelp. It's a negative platform making money off of us. They created this platform to milk us and take money from us. It's very negative driven, and I'm not going to go be the negative guy. It's the exact opposite of who I am, right? I'm not going to be, well, they said you could go like in a neighborhood block and pick all the bad Yelp restaurants and go there. I'm like, I'm not doing that, no way. They're like, what do you mean? You be on TV? I'm like, I don't give a fuck. So that's how I was. And then I always said, I got to create my own content. Everyone wants me to do podcasts. I was doing motivational speaking. When you're in it, you're in it, and everybody wants a piece of it. Yeah. I filmed with Tony Robbins, and Tony's like, where are you from? I'm like, your replacement. I'm your replacement, Tony. I'm your replacement. He's like, wow. Oh, my God. I'm like, yeah, I'm replacing you, Tony. Funny, right on stage I said that to him.
You have any other projects in the work, like real estate or something? Even like you said,
I'm developing
or
houses in Florida, the Hammock Beach area. I'm building stuff in the Hamptons, and then I run the restaurants and do everything else, and stocks, trades, business. It's always something.
You're a full-blown entrepreneur.
Yeah, you got to be. It's who you are. Like my friends, I get together with my friends. I'm 57. They're all retired. Everyone work for the city. A lot of guys think it's me. It's always about the money. It's not about the money. It's about feeling you like young, because you're learning new and challenging yourself. I feel alive. Yeah. And creating and building and waking up every day. When I don't have anything to do, I get depressed. It's like weird.
You have hobbies? Anything you like to do?
My family and building.
Yeah.
I am my hobby.
That type of work is not work. Work is not work to you because you love it.
I love it. If I'm going to do it, I do it because I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Like people I could go back to TV tomorrow. It would have to really be right for me, because it's not like, most people want to go on TV. They want to be an actor. They want to be on TV, right? That's what they want to do. And you see, they do it till they're dead, Yeah. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe these people are still filming, right? Because they love it, the passion. And you see them go, and they get tired of movies. They go to the stage. They want to go on Broadway. God bless them. That's what. And me as an artist, I'm an artist, right? I'm a creative person. I love working with people, right? Like, the sound guy is an important guy when we're making the show, right? Sure. The camera guy, like we had a plan, like, okay, go out early, get these things, get that. We're in Brooklyn. We were a part of this creative thing to make the backdrops where I'm visiting people.
Yeah, well, it's similar to a restaurant. Like you said, you have the porter, you have the dishwasher, you have the chef, all important pieces of the show, essentially.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, you had 28, 30 people on a show. It was great.
What we always say this because when we created the podcast, it was exactly what you're saying is staying hungry, right? Like what are the restaurant entrepreneurs doing today, and what's their advice to the new up and coming group of 25-year-olds or young Willies that exist out there?
Well, you see today, like a lot of the big restaurant groups are huge now, right? They're huge. Yeah. So they're hospitality guru bigs. Big fish eat little fish. You see things like Ruth Chris got taken out by Darden. You see all the mergers and acquisitions, and restaurants get paid like that was a big one that got paid 19 times earnings. So, you build your concept, know your customer base, stay what works well for you, diversify, build your people, empower your people, right? Make them working partners, infuse that, goal-oriented. Don't just pay them. You got to make sure they're involved and they got an ownership and they care every day. And the customer's king to me, right? One steak, one martini, one burger at a time. Keep it simple, stupid, but know what you're going to do. Break your restaurants. I break it down by the minute, when I could do 250 people on a Mother's Day, I broke it down by the minute. I know who eats long, who's eating an hour and a half, who takes 40 minutes, what time people want to come. So it's a lot, but you got to love it. If you love it, God bless you, keep doing it,
Willie, what do you want your legacy to be someday?
Me, my legacy has always been, who I am as a father first, a husband, a boss, all the people I've empowered, the people I employed, the people I taught and trained, my positive energy. I'm a giver. I never give up. I'm always giving back, and I give it everything I fucking got. So that's who I am, And if you know me, you know that. But I'm who I am. You don't like it? Again, I don't care, But that's me. I'm a giver, I got a heart of gold, but, I'm going to forge forward. I've watched people be givers and be soft and then try and run their business and get raped and pillaged. I watched it happen all the time. And people eat you alive. Societies are animals. People are animals. They smell weakness. They look for it. It's no different than being an exterminator, right? You got to have an exterminator in a restaurant business to keep the roaches and mice out. If you don't have an exterminator, they get in. Well, in business, if you don't have discipline and fortitude and systems and operations and goals and guidelines, your staff will become the roaches and the rats and the rodents. That's what happens. And then they're like, okay, well, he don't care, I don't care, right? So it's no different than running a sports team, right? So from the top down, that commitment's got to be there, right? And everyone's got to know the plan, what the legacy is. Customer is king. We don't make excuses. If something ain't right, we make it right instantly, right that second, and we fix it. And we let the customer know it ain't about today's money, it's about you coming back forever, right? That's very important.
Customer for life.
Yeah. My mother was saved. My mother passed away last year, God bless her, almost 94. When she watched the show, she says, what are you doing? You're giving out all your secrets. All these things you do, they're your secrets. This is what made you who you are. I'm like, Ma, as fast as they're running them, I'm inventing new ones. It's okay. We're taking the whole industry and we're moving up to the next level. And I'm teaching and training people all over the world about hospitality, I said, so it is what it is, Ma. But that's my mother protecting me,
Nice.
I don't.
Typical Irish mother.
Yeah. Oh, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Willie, really, we appreciate the story. You made us laugh, and we wish you nothing but continued success to you, your family, and thanks for sharing it. And hopefully, you help a young entrepreneur. When they listen, a lot of folks reach out to us and they go, "Hey, that was pretty helpful to me." So we thank you for that.
Yeah, you break it down. When I did my motivational speeches, right, I went the first time and I watched, and the next time I came out to Van Halen Dreams, and I had little fireworks, sparkler things, and I told the guy, okay, the first 5 minutes, turn the music up, I come on stage, then I'm going to start talking, drop it. Right? So I know now I got 60 minutes to rock it. So I'm like, all right, I'm coming out like a WWF macho man over here, right? So I'm coming out to Music Dreams because I hear that song, I'm inspired, I get goosebumps, I work out to it, I'm ready to kill you, right? So I come out, boom, boom, and I got 10 words on a piece of paper. And I break down my 10 words, right? I call them like the Willie 10 Commandments. And then the last 5 minutes, I got 5 minutes to close you. So if everyone's sitting down when I come out, I tell everybody, get your asses up out of the goddamn chair. You're getting your money's worth today. And people were like, holy shit. And I made everybody get up. And I took over the room, thousands of people. And I energized them and broke it down and simplified it. So there's something like, I've interviewed with professors, and they're like, you're a genius. And I laughed because I was thrown out of every school. And they're like, I'm like, yeah, that's the first time I heard that. They're like, no, your genius is in your simplicity. You could break it down and teach. And I'm like, I had to, because, in the restaurant business, no one grows up to be a worker in the restaurant business. You usually fall apart to be a worker in the restaurant business. It's like, who goes to dig a hole in a construction site, right? I'm going to be a hole digger. I'm going to grow up and be a grave digger. That's no one, right? So you learn to teach and train and inspire, and you learn to set up the goals, and the word discipline, discipline, discipline. I use that word a lot. Why? Because we eat, sleep, repeat what we do in the restaurant business. There's 365 days a year. There's 12 months. There's 52 weeks. There's 24 hours in a day. Valentine's Day, Christmas, lunch, dinner. It's not rocket science if you break it down like that.
Right.
And then you break down your menu, you engineer your menu, you know what your customers want. You got your staff, your service, everybody's on a team. How we sell, the pitch, every step from walking in the door, how you answer the phone. You build that box. That's what I used to talk about the show. You build a big mousetrap for the guest to come in, right? One way in, one way out. Little things like that. That helps you, because if you have 100 restaurants You could be, but you got 100 mousetraps. It's the same thing everywhere. Calm down, right? Let's drive the guest. Let's build the brand. Let's execute, you know? And when you break it down that way, people get it.
Nice.
It's not complicated then.
That's it. Right? Simplicity.
Yeah. You got 1,500 payroll company, right? So how come you don't have 5,000?
We're on our way.
Yeah, but you got to set that goal.
Sticking to the master.
You got to look at it and say, it's tough, you know?
Yeah, it's all people, culture, process.
Thanks for sharing. Really, it was
okay.
it was fun. Yeah.